My 26MGF24F told me she is pregnant, but I am sterile. I am from a C country and my first language is not English. Backstory: I got into an accident after my college and will never be able to have kids. None of my family members know of this. They know about the accident but not about this. I have always wanted to be child-free, so it did not affect me much mentally. I have finished my master's degree last year and never dated before. I got a very high-paying job directly through campus placements. My parents immediately wanted me to get married after getting a job, but I wanted to work on myself and explore a bit. They said no and I said that it was my wish. All my life I did what they wanted, and for the first time when I talked against them, they were not happy. This was last year and they gave up after COVID started. So I picked up some dating apps and went through them, but no luck. Then my parents introduced me to a family friend's daughter and we clicked kinda. Looking back, I was a fool. She said yes to anything I said and never complained about anything. I felt kinda weird about it. I wanted her to express her interests, but she always said she was interested in whatever I do. Well, I did not think much about it. I said that I won't have kids ever and she surprisingly said okay. I was like, damn, she is probably the one, as it is very hard to find a partner who is child-free in my country, or at least I thought. But we were in the initial stages and I have not told about my accident. Long story short, we had time a month ago. I used condoms because safety first. The next day on, she started ghosting me a bit. I thought it was due to my performance in bed and wanted to give her some space. Then she texted infrequently and only replied okays and Ks and one-line answers. I thought maybe she wanted to end the relation and was sad, but left it at that. Yesterday, all her family came to my house and she claims she's pregnant and the father is me. Needless to say, I freaked the duck out and wanted to collapse on the ground. I did not say anything while they were talking about marriage and stuff that needs to happen because I got her pregnant. Please advise me on what steps to take now. Reddit. Update. Let me start off by saying I'm very grateful for all the Redditors who took their time to read and give me advice. I was overwhelmed by the amount of comments and how many of you said it might not even be my kid. Looking at it from a different perspective gave me much more insight on the whole situation. I called my boss and took today off. I called up some clinics to get tested and was given a slot on Friday afternoon. Then I went to the store and bought some pregnancy tests and asked only her to come to my place tomorrow, i.e. today morning. I also called my parents and before I said anything, my mom asked me if I had any good news. I was shocked by what she said and asked me what exactly she was talking about. She then played dumb and I knew that the situation was more duck than I thought. I cut the call and cried all night till 3 a.m. Grown-ass man crying for the first time since 8th class. She came today morning with her parents even after I told her to come alone. They were under the impression that I was gonna discuss engagement plans with them. I told them to wait outside and called her in and they threw a fit. I told they can all go back or let her alone come in. They said okay. I took out the pregnancy tests and gave it to her and told her to prove that she was actually pregnant and told her where the bathroom was. She started screaming at me, never done this before. I was shocked at this. Then she went out the door and called her parents in. Now everyone is screaming at me in my own home because I asked her to prove the pregnancy, not even a DNA test. I told them all to duck off and 1 hour later my parents and they all came to my home and they spilled the beans. She was never actually pregnant, as many Redditors said. My parents were afraid that I was getting old for marriage and wanted me to marry and give them grandchildren. They said that in arranged marriages, no need for the people to actually get to know the spouse because parents choose only the best for their kids. They planned this all and were only waiting for me to have time with her to do this. I broke down and cried again. All my life, I did exactly what my parents wanted, always scored high and never asked for anything. I told them to get out and never talk to me again in between crying, and they said parents know what's best for their kids and I should do what they say. Then I got extremely angry and told them to duck themselves in my native language, which was very bad. For once, I think they knew I was serious with them and they all left. I blocked them all before sending my parents a message to never again contact me in my life even if one of you is dying. Cried for some more time. Went through some dog videos and went through all my messages on Reddit, and I feel like I owe you guys this update because it was you guys who helped me do this. That is all, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Redditor's reactions update after. Redditor 1. Get tested to see if you are sterile. 2. If she is pregnant, get the baby tested. 3. Make plans accordingly if you are the father or not. 4. On a final note, you may need to step away from your family for your own health. Redditor follow up. Exactly this list. Delay any wedding until your sterility is proven or the paternity is proven. Redditor 2. Go to a doctor, get tested for sterility, and give the results to her and your family. Op comment. Thank you for the advices. I will tell them about me being sterile and also using condoms. I just feel like it because I have to tell my parents about this and they won't like that, they won't have grandkids. Redditor follow up. Depending on how much damage you've got down there, you'll want to first absolutely confirm that you're still sterile and it's not possible. Then you'll want to cut and run. Update. My 26MGF24F told me she is pregnant, but I am sterile. I want to thank you all for taking your time and reaching out and giving advice. The last few days, I feel like a burden was lifted off me, especially from my parents who always expect many things from me. The first day after the confrontation was a shit show. My parents asked first relatives to reach out to me asking me to see Reason Lamau. I declined. They stopped after 2 days after a harsh message from me requesting no contact. I also took appointments for family planning vasectomy, which is next month. Some people asked if I would ever tell my family about this, but I will not. My body, my business. I will of course tell potential future dates that I am child-free and also had a vasectomy beforehand. Some people asked where I am from. I am from India. Redditor's reactions story 2 after. Redditor 1. This is so abusive, manipulative, and devastating. I'm happy for you that you did the smart thing and were able to stick up for yourself to your family, especially in a culture that makes that so hard. It's time to start living your life, no contact with toxic family. Redditor 2. Damn, so your parents really tried to trap you into an arranged marriage under the guise of a real relationship? That's ducking devastating, dude. But you're doing the right thing by cutting them off if they're going to misguide you like that. I'm so sorry. But things will get better, especially after your vasectomy, and you never have to worry about a pregnancy scare again. Best of luck to you. Redditor 3. Pa re ntsknl. What is BST for THRCHELDRN? Half of the problems in the world would disappear overnight if parents would mind their ducking business and not barge into their kid lives. I ducking swear. Dude, I am proud of you cutting them all from your life. I even envy you a little. With time, you will appreciate that liberating feeling more and more, and I am sure it will pave your way to success in life without anyone dragging you down to fulfill their ambitions at your expense. Good luck. Redditor follow up. Amen. My job as a parent is to work myself out of my job as a parent. Can't wait until my son is my equal. Story 2. Sister is friends W. My ex's wife, who leaked my nudes, and family won't let me go NCW sister. I met a guy named James Smith 3 years ago through work and we started dating. He had 2 jobs, in 2 different cities, so I only saw him when he was in town. 1.5 years into our relationship, I got a message from a woman named Jane Smith telling me to stay away from her husband. James confessed to being married, but said the marriage was awful and they were separated, and Jane was unwilling to divorce, so he had to wait until he could get a divorce without her consent. I believed him and we stayed together for another few months, until James gave me the whole truth. They weren't separated. They lived together in the other town. James only had the one job, in my town, so he would come here, work, and see me, then go back to his wife. Jane found out, and James had spent the last few months regaining her trust and finding a new job in the town they lived in, so it was over with us. I was devastated. We'd been together nearly 2 years, and even with the affair, this was still the healthiest romantic relationship I'd ever had, and my kid loved him. When James left, I wrote him one final message, telling him that I loved him and I always would, and if things with Jane didn't work out, I would be here. I got a reply asking if I meant that, so I sent a response doubling down. I got another reply, still from John's account, written by Jane, calling me names, saying I had to learn a lesson. And within a couple of days several accounts were plastering every social media platform with nudes I had sent to James, tagging me, calling me even more names, and adding my contact info. Every time I reported one, two more would pop up. At one point Jane directly sent the pictures to my father. I had to leave my job and I move in with Dad. I was at my lowest, and I wanted to die. I did something really stupid, and had to go to a mental health facility to recover. This was all in the span of a few months. When I was out, my sister, Ali, told me she'd messaged Jane, telling her what I had done. Jane took down the accounts. I got it confirmed that the accounts were gone, but the pictures are on the internet forever. I started going to therapy, and looking for jobs, with little success with either. A few months later, Ali told me that Jane would like to speak to me, but I refused to talk to her. A few more months passed and Ali casually mentioned something Jane said, and that's how I found out she was talking to Jane, and they had been talking since Ali first messaged Jane, months before. I asked Ali if she was joking, and she said Jane was sorry and just wanted a friend. I asked why Ali had to be that friend, and Ali said that she and Jane had a friendship entirely separate to me and I should know by now to leave Jane's relationships alone. I didn't speak to Ali for weeks after that. And when we reconnected last month Ali said she values her relationship with Jane and won't end it. Ali can be friends with whoever she wants. I don't care anymore. I don't want a relationship with Ali. The problem I'm having with that is that I am still living with Dad, and Dad wants Ali here. She doesn't live here, but she visits multiple times per week. I only recently got a new job, and can't afford to move out yet. We have other siblings and I've asked them and my stepmom for help, and they are staying out of it. I've said that even if I could just get a heads up for when Ali is coming over, I could take my son out while Ali sees Dad. But when I suggested that, Dad said he's not going to make Ali ask for an invitation to come over. I feel like I have spent the last year at the end of a very fragile tether, and every time I see Ali I feel like that tether gets closer to breaking. I don't want to put my mental health on other people, especially not Dad, but I can't be around Ali, and no one seems to understand why. How can I convince my family to let me go NC with Ali? Update. Short recap of first post. I was unknowingly in a relationship with a married man, James. When he told me he was married and broke things off, I sent a final message asking him to choose me over his wife, Jane. He replied asking if I meant it, so I doubled down. Jane was the one who replied, as a test, and when I failed she leaked my nudes on the internet and doxed me in the process, putting my contact info alongside the pictures. I lost my job, my mental health flatlined, and I ended up living with my dad. My sister, Ali, then made friends with Jane, and I didn't want to have to talk to Ali, who was always trying to talk to me, but Dad wouldn't let me go NC with Ali while I was living in his house. The last 3 weeks have been a lot. First off, I heard back from this thing I applied for that I assumed I was rejected from, so I now have a new job lined up a few hours away that pays better, will let me move out sooner, and will be a lot better for my son, in terms of the school options and me having more time to spend with him. Once I knew I had that, I sat down with Dad and Ali, and said that while I knew I was not blameless in what happened, Jane's actions had driven me to suicide, and just knowing that Jane had a direct line to me through Ali, and that Ali had been reporting back to Jane, was affecting my mental health. I said I appreciated Dad helping me out, and I didn't want him to think that I was trying to dictate to him in his own home, but this was affecting me, so for the month until my new move-out date, I either needed Ali to stop speaking to me, or a warning that she was coming so I could leave. Ali said I was unreasonable, but Dad came around, saying that I wasn't asking for much. He told Ali that from now on if she was coming over, she had to let us know, which was all I really wanted in the first place. Ali then showed up, unannounced, 3 days later, with Jane. I grabbed my son, took him upstairs, and stayed with him long enough to convince him to stay there. When I went downstairs, Dad was tearing into Jane. When Jane saw me she slapped me, and then started insulting me. Dad told her to get out. He gave Ali an ultimatum, Jane or us, and Ali refused to choose, so Dad chose for her. The next day, At least 3 new accounts had been created with my naked pictures on them, tagging my new social media. After that, Dad urged me to look into a legal case again, and his urging, plus the comments on the last post, convinced me. Dad went with me to meet a few different legal teams, and we ultimately decided to go with a civil case, which every legal team we spoke to said would be a lot less intensive and a lot safer for me in terms of my mental health. My team said they sent a letter to Jane's team, who have already asked to meet in mediation, and they think Jane wants to settle, as it was clearly a quick decision on their end, probably to stop me going for the criminal case given Jane's recent actions. My legal team are also handling the photos for me, taking down as many as they can using copyright. I debated posting this, but I've gotten a lot of messages asking for an update, and there were a lot of comments on my last post that encouraged me to do this exact thing, and I wanted to take the opportunity to thank the people who left those comments, because I probably wouldn't have done this without them, so thanks. IDK if I need advice at this point, but if there's anything anyone can think of, it would be appreciated. Thanks again. Op in the comments. Thank you. I'm actually moving closer to where everything went down. I was living somewhere else, then moved in with Dad a few hours away, and now I'm moving to somewhere a little closer to the first town. But I didn't give Ali that information, so she can't give it to Jane, and the emotional distance has definitely been put in place, and I'm building on that. Jane and James are actually divorced, or divorcing. I'm not clear where they are in the process, but James left her over what she did to me, so he's not there for her to hold him accountable, which is why I think it's all being aimed at me. Edit for everyone asking. NC means no contact. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1, I'm very glad that the country I live in has made non-consensual publishing of intimate photos a crime punishable with prison. Redditor 2, WTF. Ali is a bad sister. I can't imagine what goes through her head that she puts a friendship above her sister's life. Redditor follow-up. If I had to guess, Ali probably already held some resentment to Oop, loved that her sister did something wrong, and wanted to continue her suffering. Redditor 3, Oop's dad finally took a stand, but way too late. Her sister must really hate her to show up with Jane. What kind of Beale shit has gone on in that family? Redditor follow-up, and to justify assault as being necessary for the healing process. Duck you, Ali. I hope you're afflicted with the worst case of dandruff ever. Redditor 4, I'm gonna need the next update. I need to know someone is in jail. It's revenge porn. That's a crime. This is why I'd rather a dude break up with me instead of sending nudes. It's not worth it. Redditor 5, why would Jane punish Op for her husband's affair? Redditor follow-up, is she still with him? It's a lot easier to blame someone who isn't the father of your kids. Edit, they're divorcing. I still think it's easier to blame a stranger. Redditor 6, here are some of the comments I found talking about why Ali would do this. Nothing actually makes sense, but here it is. What a monster. In this instance, Ali said that the reason Jane slapped me and insulted me was that she had to get that off her chest, and if I had let her finish she would have calmed down and we would have been able to have a rational conversation. Ali says that's what Jane told her, at least. I think Jane has just wanted to slap me for a while now. Ali has a lot of defenses for Jane, but they all boil down to the same thing. Jane was hurt even worse by James than I was, and I helped him hurt her, and then when Jane posted those pictures of me, her life was affected too. She lost friends, lost her husband, and claims that Ali is her only friend. It sounds like Beale shit manipulation to me, but Ali swears that she's the only person Jane feels she can trust. Dad says he told her and she repeated her usual defense of Jane, and apparently suggested that they might not be linked to Jane at all, as the first time Jane took the accounts down she found that the pictures had already been reposted. I just don't understand your sister's stand here. Why is she choosing Jane over her family? Is there any kind of relationship going on other than friendship between them? I honestly don't know. We didn't have a great childhood, but I always thought it brought us closer if anything. And I've found out recently there was cheating involved in our parents ending things, but that doesn't account for Ali literally choosing Jane over us. By relationship other than friendship, I assume you mean romantic? Ali has never indicated that she's anything but straight. There is a chance she just hasn't come out yet, but I've never read her as anything but straight. No clue about Jane. You could be right, but I would hope Ali wouldn't get into a relationship with someone who would probably post Ali's nudes on the internet if Ali dumped her. Redditor follow up, Jane decided to post those, so losing friends is her fault, not oop. And you don't get to assault someone to get it off your chest.